Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sharing with Shellshock. I am your host, ShellshockPrime, and tonight we are here with another episode. We got two brand new guests and one returning guest. First things first, Paperlink, welcome. Paperlink, you're there? I could hear you, but you kind of sound a little bit robotic-y.
Hello. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
you're good now. You're good. All right. Welcome.
I knew my internet would crap out like that.
Yep, it's all good.
Yes, I'm here.
Yep. And we also have a returning guest, MrRedBeard. Welcome back.
Good to be back.
Yep. And we also have another new guest, RetroGamingBacklog. Welcome.
Hey, all.
It's good to see you. Good to see the three of you. Yes, it's really good to have all of you on. So this is episode 40, Backlogs and You, where we're going to be talking a lot about backlogs tonight. And we're going to have a pretty good discussion on that. But first, I want to bring a couple of things up. First things first, Paperlink, since I know you don't really stream or do any content creation, but tell us about yourself.
I'm sorry, you just got out there.
Oh, sorry. I was just wanting you to tell us about yourself a little bit.
Let's see. I've been playing Nintendo games for 3 decades now. Oh, help me. And you can usually find me at any gaming site, usually backlogger.com, gamefacts.com, or you'll find me on Twitter every now and then, once in a blue moon.
Yes. Redbeard, remind everybody what content you do.
I mostly am a variety game streamer. I play a lot of RPGs, action feature games, Mario Kart, like variety of games.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't been streaming because I've been on hiatus for a long time, but I'm planning to come back on streaming soon. So, I'm still working on the date when to come back, but I hope it's not gonna be too long.
Yep. And RGB, tell us about what you do.
Well, I mean, I've been collecting since I was a kid as well, but I've finally just been able to start streaming it online for the last couple of years now. 2 years it's going on now. I only play old games, obviously retro, pretty much on original hardware using the CRT, all that fun stuff. We occasionally do modern games through community redeems, but other than that, it's always old school retro games on real hardware. So. Yep.
And when it comes to collecting, I do have a pretty sizable collection. My shelves right there have a lot of games. I never anticipated that I would be collecting, but it's been mostly within like the late 2000s and early 2010s that I've been doing so. And thus,
oh wow.
And thus it led to a backlog, and I'm going to explain my stuff in a little while. But first, so what is a backlog? Backlog is an accumulation of tasks underperformed or materials not processed, usually in the context of offices and whatnot, or assignments that you have yet to finish. But in gaming's terms, a backlog in video gaming is a collection of games that a player owns but has not finished or even started playing. It can be a source of stress and guilt for some gamers who feel overwhelmed by the number of games they have to play. In other words, we have a problem.
Oh, yes, we do.
A good problem, but a problem. So that's basically how it is. So we're going to be... Indeed. We're going to be talking about our earliest times that we realized that we had a backlog. And Paperlink, you're going to go first.
Let's see. The earliest I can remember having a major backlog was around the GameCube era.
Yeah.
I was one of the poor staff that actually had a GameCube as my primary console, so I mostly collected GameCube games at that point. And it got to a point where I was collecting really lengthy games or games that were really difficult at the time. And unfortunately, it started growing bigger and bigger as time went on. And oh, look at that! I have Tales of Symphonia I haven't finished. I haven't finished Metroid Prime, and I haven't finished Twilight Princess yet. I got a problem here.
Yep. Indeed. It just adds up over time. You don't realize it, but it does.
It, al- it also does not help when you enjoy RPGs like Fire Emblem or Pokemon, which are pretty lengthy experiences.
Yep, indeed. um, what about you, Redbeard?
I could have. I don't have an exact point. I feel like it started when I was getting more into JRPGs, probably in the late 2000s, early 2010s, when I started getting into our JRPGs. Mostly was Final Fantasy, and then I had numerous friends. I asked them the question like, what are some JRPGs that are similar but a bit better than Final Fantasy? And that's when the whole thing started.
Yep, that's just the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
RGB, your turn.
Man, I think I first realized I had a backlog when I kind of started getting more into my collection early, maybe like around 2010. That's kind of was like about the golden age to really get into collecting. Really, like stuff was not as super as expensive as it is now and all that, and so I just kind of started picking stuff up. Like, oh yeah, I heard about Punch Out. I've never had a chance to play this game, or oh, I remember this one on GameCube. Yeah, I'll pick this one up, whatever. And I kind of started adding it all in, and then I got realized, oh shoot, like when am I going to be able to play all this? I'll
Yep.
get to it eventually. That's what we always say. But
Oh yeah,
Yep.
we always say that,
yeah,
like, because we tend to develop some habits when it comes to backlogs. Like, for example, saying something like, I've always wanted to play. I'm gonna give an example: the Yakuza series. I've always wanted to play that series, but I haven't had a chance to get into them yet. I have them on Steam. I have some of them on Steam, but I haven't played them yet. And then it's like, oh, but look, I see the Ace Attorney series, or I see, for example, like Ninja Gaiden and stuff like that, and the list goes on and on and on. And I'm like, I'm looking at my Steam games, I'm looking at my Switch and other platforms. I'm like, I have way too many games. So the the earliest time that I can remember when my backlog first formed, or when I realized that I had a backlog, was during the Wii era, because like I was getting games here and there, but the moment I realized that was actually when I first heard the term. More likely, like I know for a fact that I had so many games I did not finish during like the as early as like the late PS1 and 64 era, going into the GameCube, PS2, and it got to the point where I had so many games that I'm like, okay, I'm buying a lot of these games. Am I going to put any time to finish them? And the answer to that question is no. Yep. And during the 2010s, it got worse. And it, and I'm going to tell you one reason how it got worse. The moment I found out about Steam sales, that was when it started to get worse for me. Plus, going to like local stores like Circuit City when that was still around, Toys R Us when that was still around, Kmart when that was still around, going to Best Buy, going to Target, all that stuff, whenever they would have like, for example, buy one get one free, or buy two get one free, buy one get one for like either 40 to 50% off on all those deals. I'm like, yes, I want to take advantage of these deals. Like, yeah, I'll buy a game for a normal price and then get the other one for like half off. I'll take advantage of that, like, no problem. And also, following Wario64 on like social media for so many years, seeing Wario64 like posts, this game, such and such game is now on discount for $15 or for $30. Or you can, or a video game company has a wide variety of games on sale right now on Switch or on Steam, and they're on sale now. So yeah, that's a problem right there. It gets really bad. Like I bought all these games for years. Like, I have over 130 plus physical Switch games. I never thought I would ever have that many games on a platform.
Holy shnikes, that's a lot.
It's obviously the most amount of games I have on a single platform, and that's not even getting into what I have digitally. Um, but it adds up. Like Switch and Steam are like the big two platforms that I have in terms of how big my backlog actually is. It's gotten a lot worse. Even when like people tell me, okay, you really need to slow down and actually play these games, it just doesn't stop.
No.
especially
The trick here is that it never stops.
especially whenever like a new console comes out. It's like, okay, like when Switch came out, I started with two games. I started with Zelda Breath of the Wild and as my single player game, and I bought Super Bomberman R just to play multiplayer with that. And it's like it starts off with one, it starts off with two, and then it only just grows. It only adds up over time. So there's that. So that's basically my story on how I realized I had a backlog because I have way too many games that I still have to finish. Um, I know people who have a much worse backlog than me, and honestly, no one ever apologizes for it. They just roll with it. But
One of them.
yep, but I do have a lot of games that I eventually want to get to that I do want to finish at some point. I'm going to at least mention a few games later on in the podcast, but right now, the next question, and this one we'll probably spend a little bit more time on. Um, how do we manage our backlogs and what games and how do we manage what games we play? Redbeard?
That's a bad word for me. I don't keep logs or anything. I have everything in my brain.
Yep.
I mostly what I do is mostly I do play by series, and if I play I have to play the whole series. Mostly uh it's hitting on the sequels or the sub games of it.
Yeah.
It's like a hit and miss with that, but it's just the main games I played of the series, and I do it orderly, numerical order. I don't do it just when it's released because it's just kind of screws my head because I like to see how the game evolves step by step of how it's updated from the original predecessor and what and see all the Easter eggs that were from previous games kind of here. I think that's it on my end.
All right. That's fair. Because playing games within the same series just like it's a really good way to handle how you want to manage the games you play and like how do you want to handle your backlog. Like if for example, if I know for a fact that if I ever decide to get into like an RPG series like the Legend of Heroes, Trails in the Sky, or something like that. Like I could play all of them in order, or then there's also games that in the same series, like Legend of Zelda, that you could just play mostly out of order. Like you don't have to start with the first game. You could start with like a Link to the Past. You could start with Link's Awakening, Ocarina, Wind Waker, or Breath of the Wild. Like you could start anywhere. So that's the beauty of Zelda in that case. Um, so, what about you, RGB? How do you manage your backlogs, and how do you manage like the games within the backlog? What you play?
It's kind of a difficult question, I suppose, to answer. But what I usually keep track of, like all the list of games I physically own, well, like some digital ones too. That like on that app Game Eye, like I freaking love that app, and it's only recently just added on where you can keep track of games you've played, like how far into it, if you started them, finished them, all that sort of thing. So I've kind of been doing that. But since I have such a big backlog of physical games, I kind of just, have been randomly going through like, oh yeah, yeah, all right, we finished this one. Hey, how about this one? And just kind of grab randomly on that. I've only recently started to kind of rely on viewers. Like in my Discord, I'll post like a poll and say, hey, so I have like this list of games. Vote for which one I should play next. And that's actually how I ended up playing Banjo Kazooie last time.
Yep.
We just beat that one, but it can be pretty difficult. I did try to start keeping track on the backloggery.com.
Yes.
I think I got about as far as you know just making a username and stuff, but eventually I was like to possibly enter all the stuff I got. It'd be kind of cool if I could import it from like GameEye, but I don't think that's probably possible. That might have a spreadsheet option, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really feel like I'll ever complete the backlog, but I mean that's kind of a nice thing too, because then you always have content to provide to folks.
Oh yeah. Because you could just keep adding games to the list of games you want to play, and then as someone who streams, you could just share the games that you're playing. Like I know you just beat Banjo Kazooie, and then after that, it's pretty much you have a big list of games you want to do, so you'll be able to figure out what's next and just keep going.
Absolutely.
Yep. Paperlink, what about you?
I've been using Backlogger.com. I've actually been using it for about close to 15 years now, so this is like long before apps were a thing.
Yep.
So I managed to keep it rather updated, pretty well over the years. And basically, how I choose to play games, at least, it's mostly based on vibes.
Oh yeah.
Generally, if I do something like, say, an RPG or so, I know that's going to take me like at least maybe a week or two, maybe three. And when I'm done with one, I usually don't like jump into another RPG like immediately afterwards. I usually go for something low key or smaller, like a platformer or a small puzzle game or something.
Yep.
Mhm.
So it's always good to have a proper balance of what you want to play, because sometimes if you play multiple games of the same genre, especially in the same series, there's a very strong chance that you're going to get burned out and that you want to take a break and play something else. But other times you want to just keep going with the same series, because like after you finish one, you want to see what the next one has, how it is, how it plays, and how it compares to the last game. So there's always a pro and con when it comes to playing playing games in the same series like consecutively, or you just want to take a break and go to the next game. So that's just that. So in terms of me, in terms of how I handle everything, there are so many different ways on how I handle managing the games that I play and how I manage my backlog. Backloggery.com is one of the ways that I handle it. I use that as a way to update the amount of games that I have, where I keep track on each platform, the type of games that I play, and if I'm still playing the games, if I haven't started it yet, or have I just beaten the game, or if I've completed the game to the point where I've done everything there is to do, like you 100% of the game. And they also have an option where it's just mastered, where you pretty much know the game from the back of your hand. So there's quite a few games that I can say I've mastered. Quite a few.
Nice.
Everything pretty much sounds to me like it's one and done, but Backloggery is one way. Google spreadsheets, or like from Google Docs or Google Drive, that's how I handle it. That's how I handle like doing like keeping track of games. Like I use that as a way to keep track of the games that I've beaten on stream each year. I don't really do repeats unless it's a different run. Like for example, let's say if I'm playing a game like Freedom Planet and the main character is Lilac and I beat the game with her, but then I could do like the other runs in the game with the other characters. So I could do that. But if it's the same game, like let's say Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and it's just Sonic, and I just leave it at that. But like otherwise, I would count it separately if I'm doing like Tails Run or Knuckles Run and all that stuff. But then it's like there's so many different ways that people keep track. I remember like before I even knew what backloggery was, I was just writing some stuff down on like a piece of paper in like a notebook. Just write down like what games I've beaten within like that year. And I just stopped doing that the moment I discovered backloggery. So backloggery is like the primary way I do it. I used to just use a Google Doc to keep track of the games I've beaten overall, but then I just separated them. So that's how that's how I've done that over time. But what in terms of how I manage like what games I play, um like I'll be the first to admit that I haven't really played as much video games off stream. I've been mostly playing video games on stream. Like now, like because it used to be that I used to play whatever I wanted to, whatever I was feeling like, or whatever is the new game. But sometimes, like I just want, you know what, I want to play something on my DS. I want to play something on the Wii or something on like Xbox 360 or something. Or if I want to play like an old school game from like NES or Super Nintendo, and I'll just go ahead and play it. But it's gotten to a point where whenever I play games on stream, I do have requests that I still have to honor. I've honored a lot of requests, and I still have a lot more to do. Um, though one of the biggest ones is the fact that I've had somebody that wanted me to play Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3. Ironically enough, they did not request Demon Souls or Bloodborne because of the fact that
Yeah, PlayStation exclusive.
yep. So they did, and they did request Sekiro and Elden Ring. So because they're like, oh, you need to become a Soulsborne streamer, which to this day I still have yet to play those games. Eventually, I will. Eventually, that's another part of the problem that I have when it comes to my backlog. I keep saying eventually I'll play these games, and some of them take years and years because I have played some games in which it took a while to get to requests, and when I finally get to them, I'm like, yep, I'm done. Let's go to the next one.
I get that question a lot too about Dark Souls. But
yes,
maybe eventually.
yes, I will praise the sun one day. I promise I will praise the sun one day, but it's just a matter of when. but I usually but I also just determine like what games I'm thinking about. Like I planned a couple of games that I played this year. I usually plan some games for each year. But then sometimes whenever video game companies announce like what games are coming out within a year, like I remember 2021, I was thinking 2021 was going to be just as barren of like the amount of games releasing in 2020, but then like I was like, wait, where are these games coming from? And especially with Nintendo, when they had me in 2021 the moment they announced Metroid Dread. And I'm like, okay,
Yes.
let's go back and play some of the other 2D Metroid games I didn't do. Like, because I know, because earlier in that year, I did Metroid 1 and Metroid Zero Mission, because I was doing old versus new to determine which one I like better, which Zero Mission I like better than the original. But I'm like, okay, this is a good excuse for me to play Metroid 2 and also the remake Metroid Samus Returns, because I did not play either one. I did not finish either one of them, and I have since finished them. Then I did the others leading up to Dread, played Dread, finished it, loved it, and moved on to the next thing. And October is usually the best time to play spooky games, like survival horror,
Oh yeah.
anything that has like any type of spooky theme of any kind.
Metroid Fusion.
Yes,
Metroid Fusion.
Metroid Fusion is easily great. Like, just gotta watch out for the SAX.
Yep.
Just gotta watch out for that. And in Metroid Dread, watch out for Emmy. That's all I'll say. But for backlogs as a whole, I will say though, the best way to manage what you want to play is whatever you're feeling like. If you feel like playing if you feel like playing a Pokemon game, or if you feel like playing the most like random like obscure hidden gem on any game console you own or handheld, then go ahead and play it. That's what I'm gonna say, because I'm just happy to be playing the games I like to play. But sadly, there have been some games that people wanted me to play, and I was not having fun with it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, it's just not for me. But I try. I always give everything a chance. And overall, my backlog, I just do what I can to manage as much as I can, as much as possible. So yeah, like the biggest games to that are in the backlog, we're gonna talk about that right now. Like at least up to 5 games, maybe more, that are in your backlog that shouldn't really be in your backlog, but are in your backlog that you haven't started or finished. I'll start with RGB for this one.
Man. Well, I can tell you, like, the first one that comes to mind when you said that's in my backlog that shouldn't be is actually Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. And the only reason it's still in my backlog because I never finished the game. It's kind of sad because I remember I got that, I was just senior in high school at the time playing it. And I got all the way up to, like, the final boss and stuff, and I graduated, went to college, kind of forgot about the game, and I never finished it. So it's like, shoot, I need to go back and do that. But there's a whole bunch of other games that I haven't even got to yet that I've never played. Like, that's what a lot on my channel I do, mostly like first playthroughs of stuff I've never played. A lot of them are jank games. Like this upcoming one I got is the Incredible Crash Dummies on NES. That one's a notoriously jank one.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Oh yeah, I rented that one at Blockbuster way back in the day because I was actually like really into the toys. I think there was a cartoon, but I never heard about that one until later in life. But I was like, oh yeah, I definitely need to go and beat this game because I remember, I think I got to like the first boss when I rented it way back with Blockbuster, and I was like, man, this was difficult. Holy shnikes!
Yep.
I thought maybe this was the end of the game. Maybe it was just a short game, but nope, it kind of went on, and I couldn't make it any further. But oh man, and Punch Out's another big one. Like I've played a little bit of it. But yeah, I've never even got to Mike Tyson or anything like that. Dude, well, there's a bunch of others. Lately, I just kind of got into the Metroid games. I still have Super Metroid to get to eventually. We did beat Metroid 1 and 2 on stream back in March. That was fun.
Yep.
Gosh, I'm trying to think if there's any other like really big ones. I mean, I guess the next one I'm going to be working on is Bug Fables. That was a community redeem, so that's exciting because I'm a big Paper Mario fan, and I'm really looking forward to that. I've always been into it. It's probably Paper Mario, I think, is the one that got me into RPGs, or well, actually, maybe Mario RPG itself, really, because that kind of gave me the hype back in the day for Paper Mario, and that's to date probably the first and the only game I've ever bought like on release day.
Yeah,
but.
Yeah, I still have yet to purchase Bug Fables. That's a game that I will be picking up at some point because I've heard nothing but great things about that game.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. Paper Link?
Yes.
So, what are like if you could name 5 games that, or at least up to 5 games that are in your backlog that you haven't started or finished yet, what are those games?
I have a pile of games right here, actually. So the first game on the list would be Fire Emblem Engage. I love the Fire Emblem series, but for some reason I haven't quite got engaged, with this one.
Yeah.
I believe Mario Wonder came out like literally the week after I started playing it, so I just sort of prioritized that one, and I just sort of forgot about Engage. I should get back to it, but I need to find some pretty decent time to actually play this one because it's quite lengthy.
Yeah.
As for the second game, it's Persona 5 Royale. I haven't even opened it yet. I got it for the Switch. I got it for Christmas actually, and I have played some previous Shin Megami Tensei games, so I'm familiar with how Persona works at least.
Yeah.
And yeah, all I really know about P5, other than the music being great and the graphics being great too, is that it's also very, very long. Talking about 100 hours or so, maybe.
Yeah.
So that's another, behemoth game right there to worry about. But thankfully, I have it portable via the Switch version, so it should be a little easier to handle.
Yep.
The next game after that would be Bayonetta 3. Again, I wasn't enjoying Bayonetta 3, and for some reason I just sort of dropped it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I guess I just wasn't in the action game mood at that point, because I did go and play Bayonetta Origins actually, and that was a fantastic adventure game, highly recommended.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just making me want to play Bayonetta 3 again, so I should get back to it relatively soon.
Yeah, I could definitely vouch for Bayonetta Origins. I really like that game a lot, and I did enjoy Bayonetta 3. For me, I did not like the story, but I really like the gameplay.
Yeah, I'm not expecting to like the story because I honestly didn't really care for the story for the first two games either. But yeah, I should give it a chance again and get back to it pretty soon.
Yeah.
Then the next game on the list would be Dragon's Dogma 2. I haven't opened it either.
Yeah.
And that's basically that's basically a running theme with this pile here.
Yep.
So I like Capcom games. I like Monster Hunter. I like action RPGs. I figured Dragon's Dogma 2 is going to be a pretty decent fit for me. It's just once again I gotta find the time to play it. Last RPG I played on the PS5 was Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, and that took me a fairly decent amount of time. So here's hoping.
Oh yeah.
And then the last game on the list is actually one I'm playing right now. It's Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. In this game, yes, I highly recommend this one. It is a freaking amazing Metroidvania so far. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm definitely working on this for like the next week or so.
All right. Very good. That's a very good list of games that you have that you still have to either start or finish.
I like to pride myself on variety here.
Variety is always the spice of
Nice.
life. So, Redbeard, your turn. 5
Okay.
games.
There's 5 games I know that I have played but stopped in the middle of it, and I haven't got back to it since. First one would be Dragon Quest VI. I was playing on the DS. I was continuing doing the Dragon Quest series. I think I was just on the burnout phase of how the series was, so like took a break from it, then started playing another game, and then gonna get back into it. So, but mostly any games I have played, I stopped playing for the majority of the time. I made it way further in the story. I just go look on YouTube of the story of the game and to pinpoint where I am in the game, so I don't spoil myself and continue from there.
Yep.
Let's see. Second one. That's the first one. The second one, I would say. Second one will be Octopath Traveler, which I'm currently streaming, but I'm on hiatus for now. But I'm kind of come back soon. I did stream it a few times, and I'm still like in the beginning. I passed chapter 1. I'm on chapter 2. But like during all the time of stream, I've been grinding the characters a level up high. So, because when I next play it, I'm gonna start doing chapter 2 plus doing their the characters' jobs and unlock them for the other characters.
Yep.
So that's gonna be fun.
Oh, yeah.
That's number 2. Number 3 would be Persona 4 Golden on the PlayStation Vita.
Yep.
Which I have it on my PS5. So right now we'll just be redoing the game all over again since I don't remember anything in that game. I don't know where I was, and I'm pretty much sure the game where I was at. I probably messed up the game since I mostly use Persona games. I mostly use guides for the Persona games because there's a lot of detail in it,
Yes.
including with the called? People with the cards. I forgot what they're called.
Tarot reading?
There was a no, that's not tower reading. It's the
I forgot what they were.
The Arcana,
Arcana.
I believe.
Arcana. That one. Yeah. And there was some. I looked in the. I remember looking at the guide before that. I kind of messed up in the beginning. I was like, well, time to head speed in the game, but since it came out of place for and Windows 5, I got the game, but it's just still on the home list.
Yep.
Kind of trying to think. That's game number 3. Game number 4. It would have to be Pokemon Black or White. One of those games.
Really?
I have both of them. Yeah, because I never played the game. I played it. I never played it when it was out, but it was one I missed because of the I didn't like how the Pokemon were designed. But I had to play Pokemon Go. There was a few Pokemon I liked due to the type bandit, due to the types, and plus I like their design as well.
Yep.
And I did play it like before, but I stopped in the middle of it, and I don't know where I was. So it doesn't matter if I start all over again with that game.
Yep.
And number 5, I think I'm clear now. A game I never played. And there's stuff in the middle. I'm just gonna mess you next one. I know there's one game in here. One game I really want to play, I haven't gone back to. I played a long time ago and I stopped in the middle of it. Is BioShock.
Great game.
Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Yes. And I think after I played it before, all my save data was lost, so I don't mind restarting again because when I first played it for the first time, I loved it. But I still didn't make it further in the game though. But I wouldn't mind starting over here for that.
Yep. Yeah, BioShock is a fantastic game. Persona 5 is definitely a major one, and Persona 4 is another major one, because I know, like, you guys mentioned Persona. And both of those games are in my backlog as well. BioShock is not, because I did play BioShock 1 2 years ago. Like, I know I do have, like, the other games in the series that I still have to do, but I'm going to name 5 different games that have not been mentioned here that are in my backlog. So, obviously, the Yakuza series is in my backlog. However, specifically, Yakuza 0, because that's the one that everyone points to me that should be playing that one first out of all of them. So, and I am planning on playing that game soon, so more on that in the future. But Yakuza 0, because I remember first seeing that series, because I remember I was like thinking to myself, oh, these games kind of remind me of that one game for the Dreamcast, Shenmue. Like, in a sense where it was like this open world adventure, but except you're part of the Yakuza. But at the time I didn't really know much about the series, and then it just started like becoming more popular over time, and now it's like I should try it out. Like, they're on Steam, so I'll play them. So Yakuza 0 is number 1. Number 2, and here is one, though I'm gonna fix it in a few weeks, because it's finally coming out really soon. A game that I regret never getting on the GameCube, but now I'm gonna get it on the Switch, because this is a game that I've been wanting to play for years, and now I finally get to play it. And that game is Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Never played it before. I've only beaten 2 Paper Mario games, and that's the first one.
Oh yeah.
And Origami King. I've tried playing. I tried playing Super Paper Mario, but I only played it at like a Toys R Us demo kiosk. Never actually fully played the game, despite the fact that I do own Super Paper Mario. I've never. I tried playing Sticker Star, and the less said about that game, the better.
I didn't mind Sticker Star, honestly, but yeah, I could see why people didn't like it.
And I never bought Color Splash because by the time it came, I was gonna say by the time that Color Splash came out, like I haven't really bought any Wii U games anymore because Pokken Tournament I think was the last one that I bought, not counting any of the games that I got from Kickstarter that I backed. Because after that, I just stopped buying Wii U games. So I did not get Star Fox Zero, and I did not get Paper Mario Color Splash. I did get Tokyo Mirage Sessions on the Switch, which I did play that one 2 years ago. Fantastic game.
Great game.
So Thousand Year Door is number 2 for me. I will eventually be playing that. Though since I'm doing like Mega Man games this month, June is going to be when I'm going to start Thousand Year Door. So I will at least finally get to Thousand Year Door. Number 3.
That's exciting, dude.
Yep. Number 3. And speaking of the Mega Man series, while I am playing the Battle Network games, I'm working on Battle Network 4. There's another part of Mega Man that I still have to do. I played Mega Man Legends 1, but I still got to do Mega Man Legends 2 as well as the Misadventures of Trombone. But here, Mega Man Legends 2 is the one I really want to do. And the sad thing about that is, even though I don't know anything that goes on for most of that game, I do know one part of the ending because everyone spoiled it, especially like when Mega Man Legends 3 got canceled. There was actually a campaign to get Capcom to change their minds, which of course they didn't. But that's one that's on my backlog. So Mega Man Legends 2 for the PS1 is number 3 on my list. Number 4 for me is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Started it, but for whatever reason I just never went back to it. I was distracted. I never went back to it. And people are like, all right, when are you going to finish Xenoblade 3? Because I finished Xenoblade Chronicles 1. I did the remake on Switch. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I played on Wii U. But Xenoblade 3, yet to play it. Well, yet to finish it. I need to go back and finish that, then do the DLC expansion, Future Redeemed, so I can at least see that as well. So yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is number 4 on my end. I will get to that game. I will. I have so many games that I still have to do, but number 5, this one is actually huge. People will be shocked that this is in my backlog. And the fact that this is even in my backlog in the first place, like even I'm wondering, like, why is it that I have this particular series in my backlog? And I hold this series near and dear for so many years. And the last time I played a game for this series was last year because it was a very major release. And the series I'm talking about is The Legend of Zelda. So what game specifically that I'm talking about? Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask is in my backlog.
Ooh.
Okay. Funny story about Majora's Mask. I've tried getting into the game twice. The first time was on the Wii's Virtual Console, which was basically the N64 game. I tried getting into it there, and for whatever reason, I just didn't like the time mechanic. That, like, you have 72 hours to just save everything. I didn't like that. So
it takes a bit to get used to.
So I decided to give it another shot on the 3DS when the 3DS remake came out. And no, I couldn't get into it. Even there. People told me that they had a lot of good quality of life changes on that, but they also had a lot of quality of life changes that actually hurt the game, from what I was told. That people tend to prefer the original N64 version. I'm like, I think I'm worried that I'm worried that I'm gonna play Majora's Mask, finish it, and I end up thinking it's one of the weaker Zelda games because I don't like this time mechanic. I really don't. Like, I know people really love this game. People talk about how it's one of the best Zelda games ever made. But it's just this time mechanic is what's holding me back from actually like getting through the game. It's very intimidating, more intimidating than I ever thought it would. But Majora's Mask, I should at least play that game. But I just hope that I could at least overcome my fear of the whole like time mechanic that game has and manage to get through that game. Maybe I might like it more. We'll see. But if I do
The
it,
hard part for me when I play Majora's Mask. Sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely preconceptions about the time limit, but there's definitely a lot of ways to mitigate it as well. And you'll find out it's a lot easier to manage than you actually think it is. People tend to overthink it quite a lot.
oh yeah. And sadly, I am one of those people. But go ahead, RGB.
I said the hardest part for me with getting Majora's Mask was I was encountering all sorts of glitches on the original game, and I was originally playing on an EverDrive at the time. I thought maybe I had a bad copy of the game, but then I got a real copy of the game and encountered all the same glitches. I think half of the clips on my channel are glitches from Majora's Mask.
Yep.
But I did eventually finish it, and I honestly highly recommend it. I thought it was a really good game. Once you wrap your head around like the 3-day limit. It gets pretty good. I mean, it's a little tedious, but you just got to keep track of some stuff.
Yep. But eventually, I will get to Majora's Mask, and that's a Zelda game that I know that I really, really need to sink my teeth into. Like, I have other Zelda games in my backlog. I have Twilight Princess in there. I have both of the Oracle games on the Game Boy Color, and also Minish Cap on the Game Boy Advance, which I have a little story about that. I was going to stream Minish Cap back in 2021 on the 3DS capture card, but then all of a sudden the USB was acting up. But it turned out that it was just a USB and not the actual capture card itself that was acting up. But despite that, I never went back. I pivoted to a completely different game. But if I were to play Minish Cap, I'm gonna play it on Switch. But I guess I'll just say Majora's Mask / Minish Cap, but it's more Majora's Mask right here. So yeah, Majora's Mask is a game I really gotta play out of all those games that I mentioned. So the next thing we'll talk about before we do the community questions, what's something that we like? Let's talk about what we've learned about our backlogs. So Paper, like, what have you learned about your backlog? Like, any lessons you've learned over the years, just buying games and not finishing them or not starting them? What's one thing you learned, or what are some other things you learned?
I'm not sure I learned anything, honestly.
All right then.
All right, let's seriously. I do tend to prefer much smaller games these days. I think it's mostly because of how my life has changed over the years as well. So I tend to prefer smaller, bite-sized games like handheld games or stuff that's usually like pre-N64 era, because they tend to take a lot less time than, say, playing the next Zelda game, because it's going to take like another 200 hours to actually finish, more or less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's sort of how I'm approaching things. Like I'll try to do like one big RPG like every other month or so, but in between that, I just try to do like a whole bunch of smaller games and just try to value my time more or less.
Yes. What about you, Redbeard?
Nothing learned on my end. Like, it's just the same stuff over and over again. Like, games and it just piles, just keep on going.
Yep.
It's just, how about if we just continue the series or play another game and start from there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. RGB.
I think what it's taught me is that if you actually just sit down and think about it and just do it, don't even think about it, just do it. You can actually kind of get through some of this stuff. I know I was kind of like drowning in games for a while. I collected them, and then I'm like, man, I'll get to that eventually. And even the wife was like, man, you have all these games. Like, are you ever going to play them? I was like, oh yeah, I should probably do that. And so one day I just sat down, and it was even before I was streaming. I'm like, all right, we're going to take this game and we're going to play it. And I was like consistently doing like every night. And I was like, well, okay, this is kind of cool. Of course, then I got out of nowhere had a kid and stuff, so that kind of threw some monkey wrenches in there. But then I also discovered streaming, so I'm like, well, I can make it all work, and I just kind of set aside a block of time, and that's why I kind of a late night streamer. But I make it work, and I think it's also it kind of influenced me to just make other things work in my life too.
Oh yeah.
So. But yeah, that's the main lesson I think I've learned about the backlogs.
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to pick and choose for sure.
You definitely have to pick and choose, and especially like when, in my case, growing up, when you couldn't really afford every game you wanted. So in my case, I had to pick and choose which games I wanted, but there were times where I had some bad choices, like a random licensed game that was based off a movie that you really like, and the game wasn't really good. Like when I was a little kid, I had the Karate Kid for the NES, and that was a mediocre game. But um, Who Framed Roger Rabbit for the NES was much worse of a game. Oh my god, I had that as a kid, and you wonder who developed that game? I know LGN published it, but you wonder who developed Who Framed Roger Rabbit? It was Rare. It was
That's
Rare.
right, I remember that.
And
Crazy.
and the composer is the same as the one from the Donkey Kong Country series, David Wise. He composed the music for that game, as well as the Nightmare on Elm Street game. They did that too. Karate Kid was actually published by it was published by LGN, but you wonder who developed that one? No one will ever guess. You'll never guess.
I can.
But all I'm gonna say is it's a studio that makes some of your favorite RPGs of all time. That's not Square. It was Atlas.
It's Atlas.
Because when they first started out, they were basically just being contracted to make whatever for whatever company. Because obviously you got to start somewhere. But yeah, they also did the Friday the 13th game on the NES, which was not good at all. And I do not think that Who Framed Roger Rabbit is Rare's worst game. I'm pretty sure that they made a much worse game than that. I can't really put my finger into what game that would be, but it's definitely not a good game. That's that much I will say. I will say though that what I've learned over the years in regards to backlogs, especially mine, is that I'm the worst person to manage my backlog because I just keep buying games. Even if people tell me to stop buying games, my solution is tell all these video game companies to slow down and just slow down on the amount of games you release. But at the same time, there's only one thing these video game companies care about more than anything else, and that's making money. So they're not going to stop.
True.
No.
They're
Oh,
not.
more games.
So that's why, although this year I made it a point to only pick and choose whichever games I really wanted, because I'm saving up for other personal things. So gaming for me, I just pick and choose whichever I want, unless it's a sale. But even then, what I've learned is just I gotta be patient. I really need to be more patient. It's something I'm working on. It's not easy, but just not think about my backlog and just get through the games I want to play. That's really it, because otherwise, I'm very bad at learning this particular lesson. I'll be the first one to tell you that one.
Patience is definitely a big lesson in there too. Yep.
Yes, something I've really got to work on. But yeah. So the community questions. Let's get to those. We have plenty of questions. I'm gonna go ahead and look at the topic questions and see exactly just what that we get. All right. So first things first. The first question is from Dari. If you could play one game in a series and count it as beating the whole series, would you do it? And what game would you count? So one game. Gotta really think about that one.
Battletoads.
Probably Star Ocean. The only one that the only Star Ocean game that I'm interested in playing is Second Story. Yeah, that's my answer. Star Ocean. Because I've had people tell me
Yeah,
that's like the only like really good one, and everything else is either average or not good.
That's my answer as well. Second Story as well, because the first one we never got it in the West. It only came out with the PSP, and I did play it, and I did play the Famicom version with the fan translation. It was all right.
Yeah,
Where I played the second one, that was like the best. I love the game. I played the third one. I immediately quit because it was just so annoying
yeah.
and draggy. Fourth one was kind of like, um, I couldn't get into it. It was something about the battle system. I couldn't get. Fifth one, I played a little bit. It was still bad. Sixth one, I heard bad things. Never touching it. So it was gonna be Second Story for me.
Yep. RGB.
Honestly, the first thing that came to my mind was like sports games. Like I could probably play Madden 91, and it'd probably be count, as like whatever the newest Madden is and stuff too.
Yeah.
But
Fair.
I mean, it's all basically the exact same game anyway, right? Just different players each year, and maybe they added one little thing here and there type of thing. But probably like the latest game in that series would probably be the best to play, I suppose.
Oh yeah.
But, yeah, that was where my brain went anyway.
Yep. But I'll go with another answer as well. I want to come up with another one. So the only other thing I'll mention is that I already mentioned Second Story for the Star Ocean, but I would probably have to go with no, not Call of Duty. Nah, I wouldn't even touch Call of Duty with a 40-foot pole. Nah, nah, I'm that guy. I do not like Call of Duty. So I would probably have to go with probably GTA because of how massive these games can be. Like GTA, especially with the later GTA
That's
games,
fair.
they get very massive. Um, so it's like if I have to pick one game, like I'll probably pick like San Andreas as the game that I'll go with, or Vice City, and then just call it a day. But I'm pretty sure I'm probably gonna play the other ones, but I'll go with GTA as the other answer. Because the Grand Theft Auto series, I know people love that, especially Grand Theft Auto 5, where you can play online with people. Um,
Or you did that as well, but it wasn't as same as five.
exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see. So next up is from Dragon. Excuse me. Do you use any type of backlog tracker or personal spreadsheets, or do you just keep it all right free in your head? I personally do the latter. I'm too lazy to be that organized about my backlog. Yes. Why, yes, of course. I use backloggery.com, and I also use Google Spreadsheets to keep track of the games that I actually keep my backlog. I keep track of my backlog. So that's my answer.
Yeah, I use backloggery.com, and I occasionally post a list of finished games on my Twitter account, and that's about it, really.
Oh, that too. I actually do my Twitter thread, and I cross promote that on both Threads and Blue Sky, just to be able to keep track of games. I gotta actually update that. I think I gotta put because I gotta put God Hand on there and La Mulana since I recently beat both of those games. Redbeard.
All in my mind.
Yep.
Nothing else.
RGB.
Like I was saying before, I've mostly been using Game. I'd really like to get into the backloggery though, because I know there's like a way more diverse, way of like you can actually put like your percentage of like how you went through the game and stuff like that. But for now, it's kind of just living, I guess, rent free in my head, and I keep keeping track of it on my on my Twitch page, I keep a track of all the games that I've beat on stream so far. But
Yep.
that's about it for now.
As long as you have some sort of way to keep track of every game that you have played, whatever it's on stream or whatever it's just on your own personal time, that's always a good way to do it. Let's see. So, yeah, like I'm gonna have to take a look into Game Eye and see just how that works for me. I'll probably just download that after the stream and see like if that works better for me. The next one is from Professor Icepick, and this one, I want to know what you guys think about this one. Do any of you ever see yourselves completely clearing out your backlog, like legitimately speaking, just based on your current game schedules and interest in future releases? The short answer is the most obvious answer. No.
No.
But, but my long answer? Okay, so here's my long answer. So you see, there's these games that I have on my backlog that I still have to finish. It's all on this shelf, it's all on this shelf, and it's also digitally on Steam, Nintendo Switch, or any other platform that I own that's either active or no longer active because either the shops shut down looking at you Nintendo and also you Xbox because you're going to do the same thing with 360 soon. But I do have games that I've downloaded over the years that I still have yet to play, many of which I rebought on Steam or Switch because they're like my current like more active platforms. I don't own a PS4 or 5 and I don't own an Xbox One or Series X at the moment, but if I did, I would probably have a big backlog on all those platforms too. But the problem is there's so many games that would come out each year that I would be interested in that I know for a fact that I'm going to get them. So I'm not really going to have enough time to clear out my backlog and play these new games at the same time. And even if I was like, okay, no more buying games for the rest of the year, that doesn't really fix my problem with the backlog, because even if I clear out like a lot of games in my backlog in the year, I'm still going to have a lot more that's left over for the next year. So, plus, given the schedules that I have, like with my streaming, and plus stuff that I do in my own personal time, I don't think I'm going to have enough time to finish everything I want to do. Like, I know that for a fact. But it's getting to a point where as we get older, we're going to have even less time to play these games with all the responsibilities that we have. So, I don't see myself ever finishing my backlog. That's my answer.
Definitely, yeah. I don't ever see myself finishing it either. Mostly because there's only like 4 days a week, late in like 3 hours per night that I'm able to do it. But and I have such a sizable collection. Even if I stop buying games right now, I'd probably be going for years on my backlog too. But yeah, I mean, I plan on enjoying it and having fun doing it.
Exactly. It's always a good time to do it. Paperlink?
I've actually had finished my backlog once before. This was like back in 2009 or so. But as well as I get older, I also have less time to play these games. And I've basically come to the realization that I'm probably never going to finish all these games in my actual lifetime.
Yeah.
So at this rate, it's mostly just, I have all these games. I might as well play them as is. So just enjoy what I have.
Yep. Redbeard?
It's probably not gonna finish because I have so much games. I have. There's a lot of series I wanted to play, and it's like a lot of games in it. Mostly like how many hours is going to be, like the Persona series, Dragon Quest, Pokemon, to name a few.
Yep.
That it's going to take a while.
Oh, yeah. There's just...
I really feel like in the future, like a lot of the a lot of the like residents of old folks' homes and stuff are going to be still clearing off their backlog. There might be a lot of streamers in there as well too.
Yes, because it's mainly like the people within our generation and the people after us that understand all of this, understand the like what we do. Anyone before that, like I know that there were people like from like my mom's generation or my older brother's generation where like they basically, because video games would be like when they had the high score era, because all it was is just you just play a game in the arcades, put a quarter, and all you can do is try to clear the game and try to get the highest score possible, because that's all it was. And then now it's like we've been spoiled with the amount of games with a lot of single player narratives, like all the story, like the gameplay with the platformers or action RPGs and so on and so forth. So we have a lot more to offer, and everyone else after our generation just keeps on going. Like this year I'm going to be 38 years old, and I know for a fact I'm not going to have that much time to play everything, but I'm personally just happy with what I have right here. And I'll just clear whatever games I have in time. So at this point, like I just think it's going to be less of if I'm ever going to finish a game, and more of just finishing the games I want to finish. So if I can set myself to a goal of finishing what I want to finish, I'll be a lot more satisfied than to just race to finish everything under the sun. So there's that. The next one, let's see. The next one comes from Jeremy the Nostalgia Alchemist. How would you categorize the priority of your backlog? Example, would you go from first purchase to most recent purchase, vice versa, or by like a genre, to just name a few? Like, that really depends. For me, it just depends on the type of games that I'm interested in wanting to play at that particular moment. Like, if it's a new game, if it's a new game I've been wanting to play, I just go right to it and just play it. But if it's a game that it's been in my backlog for a while, but it's a series that I want to get into, then I'll just go and play that. So I have to think about that and figure out, do I want to play this game? Do I want to play that game? That's my answer. It really depends on the situation.
Yeah, so when it comes to prioritizing the games in the backlog, I know for sure, for me at least, that I will always prioritize like the latest Zelda game and such. So yeah, I prioritized Tears of the Kingdom last year, and I played the bejesus out of that game at the expense of everything else.
Yep.
But then after that obligation's cleared off, I just tend to pick whatever I like to play in that moment, more or less. So like it's all based on vibes. Although I do try to finish off franchises that I have like multiple entries of, because I like having that sense of completion right there.
Yeah. You gotta have the sense of completion. Redbeard?
It'll be very specific. Mostly I do it by genre and mostly by series. If I'm doing a series that I say I'm like in the middle of it and a new game comes release in that series, I still continue what I'm doing, because I'll be going down the order of numerical order of the games until I reach the new one. That's what most have been doing for like E series, Dragon Quest,
Yep.
Final Fantasy, Persona, I'm trying to think about all the games. They're also the big ones I played, but yeah, those type of games where I'm also doing numerical order of most. I'll say what they came, like they came out, or just the number on the game as well.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like say, like Final Fantasy 7 remake that came out, I instantly played it because it's just I already played Final Fantasy 7. It's just a remake, so I just jumped into it. And same thing for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as well. I'll just jump into it as well.
Yep.
Because they're not, it's just a part of Final Fantasy, but you already played the game, so it doesn't matter really.
Oh yeah,
For
of
me,
course. Go ahead.
I truly feel it's mostly just random, kind of like, come randomly, oh yeah, I haven't played that game yet. Like, how about we put that one on next? Or, then like I said, we were talking about where I put it up for a vote for the viewers and stuff a lot of the times too. Like, I'll grab some of the, like a handful of stuff and put it on there and people vote for it, and we'll just do that. I think about the only time I ever really prioritize stuff is if I do like special events. Like on my channel every year so far, I always do like a Metroid March where we specifically play a Metroid game or two throughout the month of March,
Yeah.
and it's been a big blast, honestly. But I think that's kind of some of the fun things you can do with like a backlog too, in order to you got to make it fun, and that way you also kind of prioritize stuff. Like, I mean, even with we were talking about with Halloween, where that's kind of when you can prioritize all your spooky games and stuff like that, Resident Evils and all that.
Yep.
This Halloween, I'm going to be working on that Friday the 13th game on NES. That's going to be probably not fun.
Good luck
But
with that one.
I did play it for Friday the 13th last year since it was in October and stuff too, and I was just like, oh. But I feel like it's one of those games you got to like wrap your brain around too. But until you do that, it's going to be a real pain.
Yep. Like for me, like
You'll get through it.
you will get
Oh,
through
yeah.
it, yes. Like, cause I know for a fact that since 2022, usually like for May I prioritize in Mega May. So since I am a huge fan of the Mega Man series, and I do that as a way to play some Mega Man games, because 2 years ago I played all 5 of the Game Boy Mega Man games and both of the Game Boy Color Mega Man X games. And last year, while I did play Mega Man Battle Network 1, I did not have a Mega Man, because after that, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was coming out. That was my priority right there. So I prioritized the Tears of the Kingdom. But this year I'm doing Mega Man again, and I'm just doing Battle Network series. Well, just Battle Network 4. But I have the 2 PSP games that I haven't done, which are both remakes. One is a remake of Mega Man 1, and the other is a remake of the first Mega Man X. And then I also have a Mega Man game that was on the GameCube that is a platformer set in the Battle Network series, which I look forward to seeing how that's going to be. um, um, let's see. So, Shad has. Does having a backlog discourage you from purchasing and playing new games? No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Not, nope.
Dragon asks, describe your philosophy for your backlog in a nutshell. Well, just by playing the games that I want to play, but focus on the games you want to play first, and then if people suggest you to play something, do that, and then just everything else whenever you're up for it.
Yeah, I prioritize first party games. Yep, I prioritize first party games, and then after that, it's just anything goes, really.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd probably say just like you said, prioritize some of the stuff you really want to play and just have fun doing it. Really, try not to bite off more than you can chew. But I mean, it's a backlog, so it's probably already too much for you to chew, really, too. So
Yeah. Redbeard?
Yeah, most of my backlog is choose I really want to play. But sometimes when I started streaming, I wanted to do my backlog on stream, so I do some of the games where I choose what games should I choose on a backlog to play, and what series, this and that, and they really work well. And there are some games I play off stream in my backlog. That's like DS games, Game Boy Advance games. Because no, I like it. I can stream to that, but like DS games, I can't do it on stream because I want to play from my own cartridge. So yeah, it's just I've been playing them, just mainly focus on where I want to play. and on stream, and then go from there.
Yep. And then, Redbeard, you actually asked, name one game in a series you have in a backlog you want to skip or continue on with the series. Actually, you just gave me the most easiest question that I could actually answer. But this will be the last question. You gave me the most easiest one.
Okay.
So you know how there's you have the Mario and Luigi series.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried getting into Partners in Time, and I actually didn't like it. I love Superstar Saga, but I couldn't get into Partners in Time. Because that's the one where you have the babies, like they go back in time. You have baby Mario, baby Luigi, baby Bowser, baby Peach, and all that. Um, that was actually one of my first 5 Nintendo DS games. Because I remember when I got that game, because I was just picking some of the games I wanted to get for the DS when I got my DS for Christmas that year in 2005, right around the time when I started college. And what I remember is that I wanted to get that game because I loved the original. I love Superstar Saga on the Game Boy Advance. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to love this game just as much on the DS. And I couldn't get into it. The battles were slow. Like the pacing of the story just felt very slow and sluggish. I wasn't enjoying how the game was. I'm sure that there's a lot more that I didn't see that I probably would appreciate. But I would probably skip, like, if I could just skip that and go straight to Bowser's Inside Story, which everyone says is the best game in the series, I would probably do that. But I was also told that there was another game in the series that wasn't good, and that's Mario and Luigi Paper Jam. That's the Paper Mario crossover with Mario and Luigi. I heard that one wasn't good, but I'll still give it a chance. And I've tried Dream Team, but I was like, you know what? I want to go and at least finish Partners in Time before I play Dream Team. So before when I played Dream Team, I thought it was pretty good. Paper Link?
Yeah, considering Mario and Luigi, it is a pretty interesting series in that, yeah, Partisan Time is largely considered the worst one, and generally Bowser's Inside Story is considered either the best or second best in my case.
Yep.
And yeah, you're pretty much dead on that. Partisan Time is a pretty rough game, so if people could skip that and just move on to the next entries, that's perfectly fair, honestly.
Yeah. Redbeard?
Okay, I have this game here. Even though I played it on stream, because I played the whole series, it was really one of the toughest games I ever played, and so much I hate it. I hate it so much. It's so much crap. I will just read the whole story from the website to figure out what's going on. It will be Xenosaga Episode 2.
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh,
That game I will skip. Like after I played it, I was like, I will skip this. If if I knew it was that bad. And oh god.
Yep.
I will go on website, just read the story of the game, see what's happening, this and that. And I was like, yeah, I think yeah, that game was something else.
Yep.
Third game made it better, but it was second game. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
RGB?
Man, like that's a hard question, really. What I think probably, I want to say like Ghosts and Goblins on NES, but I'm also like I play bad games and I want to like that's not really a bad game. It's just a kind of a jank and hard game. But
Yeah.
like that, it's probably why I had such bad feelings because I did play that for the October before last, and it kicked my butt.
Oof.
But I'm determined to go back because I completed loop 1, but I was not able to get past the second level of loop 2.
Yeah.
And so that's always kind of the one that I'm like, I kind of want to skip it, but there's also that part of me that's just like, no, I don't want this game to beat me. It will not break me. But yeah, that one would probably be of like say the Ghosts and Goblins series to like maybe skip, I suppose. But
Mm,
I'm too hard headed to do that too.
yeah. I have thought of 2 other games, and they're both in the same series, and that's Mega Man X6 and Mega Man X7. 2 of the worst games in the X series. Oh my god. Mega Man X6. The problem with that game is once you finish fighting the Mavericks, like the 8 Mavericks, you have a bunch of different like higher level Mavericks you have to fight in like the final stages, and they are absolutely ridiculous in terms of how hard they are. The level design for all the stages are terrible. And the armor that you get in the game is not good. It's they nerfed it to the point like they brought one armor back from Mega Man 5 in this, and it was nowhere near as good. And then the new armor that they have was just terrible. And also the way the difficulty is just too hard. It should just it was supposed to the series was supposed to end at X5 anyway, but yet they wanted to make more. X7 is better than X6, but the problem is they tried something different, but I felt like it just wasn't good. They tried to make it more 3D, and it was on PS2, and it did have a lot of memes. Like, for example, like there was this boss called Flame Hynerd where he just burned to the ground, burned to the ground. It became a meme out of that. And that game has a lot of jank, but I will say though that X6 and X7 you can just skip those and just go straight to X8, which is okay. But after X8, that's pretty much it for the X series. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the podcast tonight because that's all the questions, and I appreciate you guys coming in for this. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, Shell. It's great to be on here, man.
So
Thank you for having me.
Yep. So for Paper Link, I know you don't really stream, but where else can we find you?
Find me either on backlogger.com/paperlink64, or you can find me at my Twitter account, also under the same username.
Yep. I'll put at least those links there since those are how we can find you. Redbeard, where can we find you?
You can find me at Twitch whenever I get back to streaming, which is MrRedBeard. And you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky, which is kind of dead right now.
Yep. Yep. And RGB, where can we find you?
Right here on Twitch. I'm also on a lot of other social medias, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok and stuff. I've been really trying to get into those and post things, but mostly on Twitch, though.
Yes. That's fair. For me, you could find me pretty much everywhere on like any social media at ShellshockPrime, where like I do daily variety streams Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight Eastern, with the occasional Sunday streams and the very rare Friday streams whenever I am home, because I'm usually out on Fridays, but whenever I am home, yeah. Next week we have an episode sharing with Shellshock that will happen, which will be all about sitcoms. We're going to be talking a lot about sitcoms next week, and the guests for that will be Wolfie TV. We'll have Hito Retro Gaming and Azran127. We're going to be talking a lot about sitcoms next week. I'm looking forward to that episode. That will be fun. All right, so Paperlink, Redbeard, RGB, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys coming in.
Oh, no problem.
Have me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Shell. I really appreciate you having me, man.
No problem.
That's always awesome to be on here.
and that's gonna do it. So everyone, make sure to take care of yourselves. Be awesome. Stay awesome. Tell your loved ones you love them. Check up on them as always. Fight for everlasting peace, and I'll see you guys next week for the next episode of Sharing with Shellshock. And y'all have a good night, everybody.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for hanging out.
Bye.
Yep, bye.
Till next time.